Terve Otto.
Tervehdys. And welcome to the Spirit of Sauna podcast. And today we're talking about Kiuas. We haven't decided yet what's the name of the episode, but I would love to name it Kiuas, although it's not probably the most SEO friendly and so on. But for this reason, I want to ask you, Laura, right away, what is a Kiuas?
Kiuas is the altar of löyly.
All right, that's the name of our episode, Altar of Löyly. Great.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the altar of löyly. It's the rocks stacked in a very beautiful and how would I say, stacked with art and talent to really perform as the heart of sauna.
Yeah, right. Because of course the most obvious way to translate is just a stove, but actually when I was trying to translate these Finnish words into English, like maybe 10 years ago when I started to talk a little bit more about this, I always found it really difficult to translate Kiuas because yes, I know that internationally it is a stove, but or heater, but like we have a stove right here. It's like it reminds me of something where you cook food or you know to warm your place. It doesn't sort of include the stones. And for this reason, it was almost a revelatory experience for me when we started to talk about this, how the essence of the Kiuas is the stones stacked like in a certain way. And it's actually interesting that this Heikki Lyytinen, who has written a wonderful book about the essence of löyly, when he's trying to go to the source of the word sauna, and he finds this word stakka from there, which is actually wonderful that fireplace in Finnish is takka. And he finds that's in the essence of sauna, of the löyly room, is these stones that are piled. And considering all of this, the stove word kind of, it almost dampens this profound meaning that this Kiuas has for the whole sort of ritualistic experience since ages immemorial. So where you go when you go to international circles or you go to a workshop, how do you like explain this? How do you use the word stove?
We are again facing the same problem like when talking about löyly.
Yeah, right.
It's the same. If you talk about stove and steam, you're talking about technicalities.
Yeah, right.
You're talking like you're making a big compromise in the what you're actually saying. Finnish language is a very ancient language, and it has this very, how would I say, it carries always, multi layers. So when you're talking about something technically, you're also talking symbolically.
Yeah.
So then it's very challenging to speak in English. So you always kind of have to, specify with a couple of sentences what you mean.
Yeah,
that's how I find it when you're talking in English.
Yeah, that's right. And I would actually we should have done this like an etymology sort of tour to the word of stove and what does it mean? Like what's the sort of ancient ritual altar in a, like even in a hot room in these global bathing cultures, that what has been the name and why this particular word. But recently I've been thinking about this sort of practical side of the philosophy of sauna, or the worldview behind these ancient practices, and I've come to realize that we can actually pinpoint sort of the theme of sauna and compare it to the worldview that we have. So if we just make it quite simple, it's actually more complex than this. But if we just look, like, for example, if we start from the modern age, so I think because, when reading philosophy, especially philosophy of mind, now it is a very fashionable theory of how does consciousness evolve, or what is consciousness. This question has been haunting people for so long, and I think Science Magazine said, it's the number 2 unresolved mystery of of a human person. And now we have the artificial intelligence, and we're actually thinking about this. What is consciousness and all of that. And now I think the fashionable way to understand this is through this theory called panpsychism. And I apologize. These words are just really terrible, but we just don't have better ones. I've heard some people say it's cosmopsychism, but yeah, panpsychism, whatever. But the idea behind panpsychism is that consciousness is everywhere. So, these here are material objects, and they have a certain amount of consciousness. If there would be a bug walking around here, it's conscious, just a little bit conscious. Like it has a mass, it has a certain amount of consciousness, and so on. And if we would imagine that we would have a worldview like this, that everything has a little bit or a little bit more consciousness in it, and of course human has a lot, then it actually has it sort of reverberates to how we understand sauna or the Kiuas. Because then we might have this sort of, I don't want to sound harsh, but maybe I have to, like you're LARPing a spiritual tradition. So you're saying like, I want to build a sauna, so I want this corner to have a little bit like spirit of this, and that corner a little bit spirit of that. So you might have, maybe I'm just making these examples like on the go, but like if you have a stove, you might have like some shape of a snake going around, or maybe the handle is the face of Väinämöinen or so on, and you're like, oh, it has a little bit of spirit. Whenever I put the wood, I grab the face of Väinämöinen or something like that. Then you would have sort of the old way, I would say old in that sense that it's kind of most people don't seem to think like this anymore, but what in philosophy of mind is called materialism. So the idea that consciousness might even be illusion, just material things are in existence, so brain neurons and so on and so on. And this, if we look at sauna or the Kiuas from this perspective, it's just about the technical details. So how many stones do you put together? How do you put them? What kind of metal do you use to weld the stove? And, do you use round shapes or corner shapes or so on and so on? So this sort of 60s, 70s Finnish, this sort of engineer approach to sauna. But then if we go to the more ancient times, first I'm thinking about like dualism, very like religious way of approaching. Then you say, okay, the Kiuas is an altar and we want to please the gods. We want to, because we want to have a bountiful harvest, and we want to, so please God, please don't punish us and our community, and we do all these rituals for this reason. And then if we go maybe 1,000 years back, for sure, in Finland might be a couple of 100 years back in time, but everywhere in the world maybe 1,000 years, then we would have something in what in philosophy of mind would be called monism. And in monism, it would be that I want to align myself with nature. So there's nothing to be afraid of. You're not doing what you're doing, the rituals and all of that, because you're afraid of gods or what. And even the aesthetics or the functionality of the Kiuas is not important. The most important thing is how it facilitates the sort of dance of the elements. And as a sauna healer, saunottaja, you're like directing it. You're creating something, almost like we talked in many episodes, like alchemical process, with which you align yourself with the living nature. So it's not like there's gods here and you're small, pathetic person here, but it's more like I am the nature around me. I just want to align myself to be healthy, in a healthy relationship with nature. Sorry, it was very long-winded, but how would you feel about this kind of framing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything that we manifest in our life, in our day-to-day life, the kind of life we live, is a reflection or mirror or maybe just an outcome, I could say, of what is our worldview.
Yeah, right.
And with worldview, I'm referring to that sort of that intuitive idea you have without thinking, just your common sense of what is the world, who are you in the world.
Yeah.
And these are very often so subconscious that we cannot really, we cannot grasp to our own worldview.
Yeah.
It's only we can see the outcome of it.
Yeah, right,
in our life.
Yeah. It looks like something. Your world will look like something.
Yeah, your world will look like something and feel like something, and your life, feels like something. But I do see it exactly, and sort of when you look at the history of sauna, for example, we can take quite a narrow time frame because we don't have really the archaeological findings around Finland peninsula. They are like there is a lot of room for interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we could check them, and we could be talking about like 10,000 years of history.
Yeah, right.
But even if we narrow it down and like sort of limit our time frame to those years that we have sort of written down, or that we can do that sort of history view, then I think it's very clearly seen this sort of how would I say, how sauna as it is the temple of the elements of life, and as the Kiuas is the altar of löyly, and now in löyly we refer to the breath of life, spirit of cosmos, breath of life of cosmos itself. So obviously, if you think about how essential it is, it's the center of life, and obviously it will reflect very strongly about what is the common worldview. What is that family's worldview who is doing the worship in that
sauna. Building it and using it.
There you go.
Right. And this is what I have this attempt to bring this, because philosophy is not even the right word really. Like we would have to use something else, but to bring it into sort of practical matters, because we have sort of been conditioned in our school system and so on that philosophy is something that is out of touch with nature, and that this is actually how academic philosophy, for me at least, was, that it was really out of touch. So you're just theorizing without any practical use, and I think with this worldview, the most important thing is that it's actually practical. And so the sort of conclusion with this is that if we accept that your worldview and the worldview of family and your sort of surrounding community, as well as bigger communities, even like continents, it actually affects the practical use and the practical way of dealing with different kinds of aspects of sauna. And then if we look at philosophy like this, then it's not random what you actually do in the sauna. Like sometimes I've been to sort of maybe a sauna ritual, which is wonderful. Like, you have this smells and all of that, and you have this nice, like, you maybe honey treatment and so on and so on, and then in the end, because this person just happens to like Michael Jackson, he puts Billie Jean to play in the sauna. So it's like, it was almost like, it was nice, it was just so nice, but why did you like? And I like the song. So that's it. So in this way, like, I think when we try to sort of reinvigorate some ancient practices, we have to be quite careful what we introduce. And I think it's because also psychologists understand that our unconscious mind takes these influences without us processing it. So if we just put elements like very arbitrarily, it's like, I want to put this in here. Yes, we can of course do it, but we cannot be 100% sure what it will actually do in the unconscious. So that's why, for example, with the Kiuas, it does matter whether, for example, what paints do you use to paint the Kiuas. Like I've actually treated a couple of these Kiuas that has come to my cabin or somewhere, and sometimes these paints have just horrible, like, toxic paint, which smells like, I remember this one time, I tried to do it very nicely so that it wouldn't happen, but it still happened, that the whole cabin was smelling like this poison paint when I was heating up the Kiuas for the first time. And it was winter, so we couldn't even go outside, so you just have to deal with it. So I would want to see this culture of sort of okay, we can have technical expertise, we can have these nice small details and so on and so on, but that we would actually have at least the option. Maybe one Kiuas manufacturer who would be like, yes, I want to make a ritual Kiuas, like for specifically designed to sort of incorporate all the elements. And I think the Kiuas of a smoke sauna comes the closest, because you can actually do it without plaster, just by stacking rocks.
Right. It's really, you can just have the rocks and that's your Kiuas.
Yeah, right.
So like I would even call it the original Kiuas. Like what we really talk about when we talk about Kiuas. Because the etymology of Kiuas in Finnish comes from this word of kivikasa or stack of stones, and it has in its sort of, how would I say, in the concept of it is sort of written in it is the idea of the stacking of it, and there are these tales that told about this, how the lady of the house would stack the stones, and it's called in Finnish kutoa Kiuas.
Oh, right.
What is
weave?
Weave
right.
The rocks.
Yeah, that's
and this I find very beautiful. It has been sort of like the weaving is a very symbolical activity in the Finnish tradition, and there is a lot of folklore and a lot of like this, how would I say, the runes and things to do with weaving of the fabric of life and sort of destiny, and all this is sort of written into this concept. And so when this lady of the house, the eldest lady, or who was given this honor duty to weave the Kiuas, it was a very sort of required that you have to be the eldest, because you really have to have that talent to do this. And if you think about, you are actually weaving up the structure of the destiny of that sauna, the heart of that sauna. Because the löyly is the outcome of how the elements are, and how in the smoke sauna, again, we have a very practical teacher. It's so much, it matters in every sauna how the rocks are stacked.
Sure.
But in the smoke sauna, somehow it becomes like so obvious, and it has taught us a lot about it. Like it's
I've screwed up so many times.
Yes,
you know,
best way to learn.
Yeah, right.
So it is such an art, and exactly to your point that it really. The way then you treat the sauna, the way you do this, the way you sort of respect these different chores to do, very practical, extremely practical chores. But the thing is that when your worldview is sort of based on the idea that, when your worldview is based on the idea that you are not separate from the world, and sort of you are part and parcel of this manifestation, then very practical chores become very sacred.
Yeah, right.
And I think this weaving of the stove is a very beautiful example of it.
Yeah, weaving is definitely a great metaphor with this, because weaving also, like other wisdom traditions are talking about weaving, especially in a very sort of in your practice. So the idea is that when you understand the core, the essence of the wisdom, then you can weave anything. And it's like, it reminds how you weave like clothes, for example. If you just have this what is it called, kangaspuut, like weaving sort of machine, this kind of thing, then you can weave a shirt, a mattress, whatever you like from the same threads. So I think this has like a very profound wisdom in it, because the thing is that these threads by themselves don't do anything. Like it's just what do I do with it?
It's just a rock.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a rock. But then when you put them together in a certain way, so you can build a house, you can build a barn, or you can use them to build your Kiuas in a sauna. And it requires skill. This is the most important thing, is that it's not just anything. And also, like, maybe it also attaches to this what I talked about, philosophy. Because if you're an engineer, yes, of course you can make. I've talked to many engineers who are ingenious, designers of stoves. So they know, like, for example, in some of the stones, like now it is quite fashionable to have a lot of stones in the stove, and then you have it like a round shape. Yeah. And this was originally a very like I would say he's a mad genius. He's still living, but this founder of the Kiuas, like just truly like wonderful ideas in how to use the material in that way that it's iki means forever, so, eternal, yeah. So for example, his idea was that if you use round shapes, it lasts forever. So of course, this is skill in itself. But I would say the relationship between sort of engineer skills and the Kiuas is a similar than academic philosophy and lived philosophy. So you can know many technical things. You can even know how to talk about sort of things like lämpömassa and so on and so on. But then to have sort of the ritualistic essence in practice, that you can sort of lift things from that, then it's not a puzzle. It's not like pieces that you put together for the perfect sauna experience. It's more like a mill, you know. You understand the mechanics of the mill, and then you can make a kiuas, or you can make a sauna ceremony, or you can make a, you know, you can even almost like compose a loitsu, like a sauna spell, because you know the elements, you know where it comes from, and you're like, okay, I went to the archives, I didn't find a spell for the particular aspect of ukko. So I use a couple of these spells and I put them together, and now it's sort of philosophically consistent, and also it has this exactly the meaning that I want to use in here. So that's weaving. That's your weaving skills, exactly. You know.
Yeah, and also because if we talk about something that is eternal or true or real, then it's also involves the idea of ever changing. So you have these basic principles, but then, like for example, when you look in the archives, there you may not find like ready rituals or ready spells or invocations to use, for example, in the modern person's life.
Yeah. Like birthdays,
birthdays,
yeah.
Or maybe even puberty is understood very differently, or retirement is understood extremely differently. Also, like losing a loved one, many things that you may not find like directly, because they reflect to our modern life and modern worldview. So these situations, but then when you sort of grasp the basic principles, you have the skill of weaving, and you have sort of found the thread line of these threads that you can start making them into. Then you can have that talent, and then we can talk about living heritage, because very often we have this problem that we talk about, that something is a living heritage. We want to preserve it, so we have two options. Either we want to take it as it is, and nobody should change anything, and we should do it exactly like it is, and we should wear the clothes they used to wear and do everything as they used to do, and not one single word should be changed, and we take the dialect exactly as it is. Or then we have those, it's a living heritage, so we do what we want and we make it into our own. And I find that, okay, maybe there is the third option.
Right. And that's about studying sort of the essence, the mill, or the sort of the fundamentals of weaving, in a sense. So but I do understand that for a modern person, it might be just it might feel like too much. It's like you might think like, really, do I have to start to read a book about monism and learn? It could be useful if it's your temperament, if you're an analytical person, that could be a good idea. But the thing that we always say in these episodes, and what we want to really emphasize, is the practicality of all of this. So people who go the furthest, at least people who study with us, who go the furthest are also those people who go to sauna most and do the rituals most. It's not like equals, but it's almost like equals, because the thing is that without practice, you forget. Life is full of things that you can do instead of going to a sauna. Instead of building your ritual, or even just to go to forest and smelling the flowers, which is important actually.
Yeah.
And that's why you just forget, and then 6 months or a year passes and you don't feel like starting again. So sometimes, like for example, when I go every night to the smoke sauna, many nights actually, especially if it's a winter storm, it's like I don't want to go. But then I know that there's some compulsory element, which is that I want to put the sauna ready for the next day, and then I'm like, yes, but it's my practice. It's my sauna practice, I need to do it because I want to learn. I have this very fundamental and deep will to learn. And I understand that it won't happen if I will forget everything, if I just leave it. And if I leave it for a week, it's easier to leave it for 2 weeks. And if I leave it for 2 weeks, it's easier to leave it for 1 month. And before I know it, I just don't have I cannot sort of, I don't have the sort of, what in Finnish you say, touch, like I don't have the touch. I'm not in touch with I'm not in touch with the practice anymore. And then it's pretty much lost. So all of the books cannot save me anymore if I don't have the practice.
Yeah. And I've noticed also very much observing people practicing, doing different types of, especially when you're hosting rituals and playing vital role, So those who usually, how would I say, last, and whose rituals stay grounded and who actually sort of stay in touch, like you said, themselves, they are the ones who are really, elbows deep into practicals. Heating the sauna, cleaning the sauna, picking the herbs, making themselves the preparations, the herbal waters, preparing everything. That sort of really, like when we started talking about this, that weaving the Kiuas, these are these very practical, servant type of tasks that usually, like at least in the Finnish heritage, it's usually the most respected chores. Yeah. The one who heats the sauna, the one who weaves the stove, the one who cleans and carries the woods and picks the branches for the vihta. And I have found that there is such a profound wisdom, because when you engage into these very elemental activities, you're every time rewriting into yourself this very, fundamental truths in the practical level. And like heating the smoke sauna, nothing like a teacher to you. Keeps you humble, keeps you in the essence, keeps you on the basic elements of life. Right. So I find that, and very often when you observe, it's those who do these very basic tasks, they usually grasp the essence. They may not have the greatest philosophy, they may not have the most beautiful runes and poems to sing, or their rituals might not be the most extravagant and filled with details, but they have the essence there.
And you can sense that. And this reminds me, because now since June I've been quite active also in Jämsä Smoke Sauna Village.
You're the chairperson now there.
Yeah, right. And there's 25 smoke saunas. From the oldest ones are from the 19th century. Some of the models of the saunas are actually from all the way from the 18th century. And it's volunteer based, so you only have volunteers in there, and then you have some people who are working there. There's actually like convicts, which is very interesting. I love the idea, and they just have the best of time whenever you go there. They just really enjoy what they're doing. They're doing traditional building and all of that, which is just so important also to preserve these skills. So what I've noticed with some of the guys who actually heat the saunas, they've been there for 10 years and they heat it up pretty much every weekend. They're always there. They love it. They live nearby, and it's their hobby and their passion. And then when talking to a person like this, because I also have heated up this sauna so many hundreds of times, So we sort of touch base on some very fundamental level. I mean, fundamental in the sense that I can sort of, there's no other person who I can talk with about certain aspects. It's like, one example is the ember. That the ember has to be like almost your, if it's your fist size, that is such beautiful ember. You know, it's not like this small black stuff which is not nice for a smoke sauna. So it's not like there's too many people in the world actually who I can talk about these kind of interesting details. So the thing is, it does have this sort of, you can expand these sort of basic elements that you use in your work to these very technical, almost engineer-like details. But that's not the essence of that. Everybody knows that the essence is to heat the rocks so hot that you can actually have just the perfect löyly. Mm-hmm. So everybody knows this is the essence. So it's more like two alchemists talking about, you do when you put mercury, you know, maybe you should put a little bit more, and so on. And that's something like, it feels scientific even. You know, and scientific also in the sense that if you go to a scientific conference where you have your peers, you might be the only 100 people in the world who know about some particular field and subfield and subfield of subfield and so on. So the same is with the smoke sauna. But the interesting part, I think, is that unlike science, everybody can do it. We notice it here, you know, it takes you about 10 times when you heat it. And after that, you have the skill, and you most likely won't actually forget the essence. So sort of the basic relations of the elements. Of course, details you forget. But in the same way, I just said, if I just leave my sauna practice out, I will forget it. Yes, I will forget it, but I won't forget the essence. Yeah. I won't forget how it made me feel, you know, during those times that it was active. Yeah. But I would also want to keep it up. But it's also my nature, you know. I'm this kind of person that I do it again and again and again and again. But the good part about the essence is that you can always just start again. Yeah. You know, with the sauna heating or with the sauna practice, you know, bathing.
Yeah, and basically with anything, when you have that, when you have reached the essence, then you can always sort of from the essence, then you can you know, you have the threads you can then weave to any kind of clothing. So in that way, similarly, when you grasp the basic essence, the basic elements, then you can start practicing the art of weaving. And when you have that, then, you know, even if you skip it for a while, you can always come back and then start creating. But yes, practicality is of the essence, and that I find so beautiful in the Finnish heritage. And in general, I think the Nordic nations, our philosophy, our culture, our mythology, it's super practical. We are here where it's so rough and tough and dark and cold. So we have to keep it, you know, very simple and in the essence. And Kiuas is like a manifestation of this. It's like the northern mountain, you know, the essential northern mountain, and it grounds us, keeps us grounded. And I have found it that it's like when you're doing a sauna ritual, for example, it's the Kiuas that you lean on to and climb onto and dive into, and sort of it's the grounding anchor in anything you do in the ritual. So the essence.
And it's really fascinating how sort of collecting the elements inside of this sort of almost like artificial mountain, how it can be the source of life, but also sort of source of death, you know, because in Finland it has been common until the Bronze Age at least to bury people under rocks with all of the, you know, gear, you know, and this is what I wondered always, like, what, you have a sword in there with long sword? That's expensive as hell. Like the whole village will have to pool their resources to get the sword to this one person, and then he just put it there, like, and nobody, and he buried it, and nobody even steals it, you know. It's just like, what is going on? And how I now interpret it is actually that in the similar vein as a Kiuas in a sauna, when you bury someone under the rocks, is like that the soul lives forever, that the person doesn't have this physical form anymore, but all of those ritual stuff,
items.
the items, the sword is also probably it has also this ritualistic purpose. They travel with you, with your eternal soul. So this is I'm so happy that I got this, at least this interpretation, because since I was a small kid, this has bothered me. I was like, why would you do something like that? But now, for me at least, it makes perfect sense.
And those items were not random. If it was just you wouldn't put a sword with everybody. It's you don't find that everybody was sprayed with a sword, but usually they were very personal, like something that you manifest, because the idea was like this, when this the rocks, they describe the earth or the ground, maa in Finnish, and the term for this, how would I say, the deceased, was this maanalainen väki. And so the underground, the underworld sort of. And the idea was that there you live on until you're remembered, and then when you're not remembered, then you're there as the sort of the ancestors, like the, how would I say, the ancestral force. And from the ancestors, it was always seen from underground, you get the sort of anything that gives you life, the food, everything, trees, plants, everything grow from underground. So there is this cycle. You enter into the ground, and then you give more, how would I say, the food for life. And then again the cycle goes and goes. And this is also the story of löyly. When we do the offering of the water on the rocks, and the löyly comes and feeds us, and then heats and slowly vanishes away and disappears again, and then it goes on and on.
The soul is reborn in the löyly again.
Reborn again, and sort of the heart is this rocks, which are sort of the physical manifestation of how all the elements get a form, and thus are able to give this breath of life and have this cycle of life, that's life and death, I would say, that keeps going on, and it has been such a vital thing, I think also in other cultures, but at least in the Finnish peninsula, that we gather around rocks to sort of pour our libations for the deceased and for the ancestors, and even in modern Finland, we have our graveyard stones, rocks that we go to, and we take candles, we take flowers, we take different types of offerings for the deceased there, always next to the rock. So this is still like very deeply in us, and it has been a long practice, and these graveyards of the, I don't know, Bronze Age or what, they were really similarly stacked like our smoke sauna stoves.
That's true.
And they have been really altars of the löyly. If löyly means the spirit of life in us also,
the
soul of us. So sort of there has been the place where you go and have this interaction with this löyly.
It's just doesn't cease to amaze me, like how something can be spiritually very rich, philosophically surprisingly complex, and still very practical. And in that sense, that you can actually translate it, for example, to your children, so that you have like so many interesting children's tales. And I maybe even mentioned this, but in some study I noticed that some of these stories that I still tell my children are some 5,000 to 6,000 years old, so they can actually trace this through linguistics and so on, so that you can actually also transfer this to the next generation, which seemed to have been the most important mission, is to learn something from the ancestors and just give it forward to your own children, or the children of the community, so that it could remain. And maybe it was the change of this worldview, change of this technological society, where we really praise light, we praise fire, but we don't praise the other side of that, the stillness and death and darkness. And yes, Kiuas, that can be still your, if you, for example, I've understood that some of you listeners are listening this in a sauna. Yes, I heard at least one person maybe, and hello to you. I'm sorry, I cannot remember your name, but so just looking at your Kiuas and appreciating this sort of the giver of life and sort of the symbol of death at the same time could be the first step to sort of make sauna something else than just a very hot box where as a sort of maybe just a fitness thing. And of course, when I'm thinking about something like what if I would go to, I don't know, hard to find a good example, but I would say like a CrossFit class. Then I would go as an outsider. I was like, I don't know anything about this, and now we go to CrossFit. And then there would be these religious CrossFit people who know everything about that and all of that and where it's based and what's the history and so on and so on. So if this person would come to me and say, there's this religious aspect of CrossFit. Have you considered this?
Yeah.
And of course I would be like, what? No, I thought it's just a fitness thing. Yeah. So of course I understand if somebody who has sort of built this idea of the Kiuas, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a heater.
Yeah, it's a heater. It heats up the space and that's it.
Yeah.
And I do understand. That's a valid point. But what I do claim is that in order to understand the full richness of this culture, like truly getting into the essence of this culture, what we call sauna culture, it is worth taking into consideration also these ancient uses of sauna. So that gives you the full perspective. And after that, if you choose to have it as a fitness practice, why not? So in this my stupid example, it would be something like, I would ask this person, oh wow, so CrossFit is okay, it's a religion, please tell me more. So I want to understand, and then I can decide whether I want to commit myself to actually studying that and living it practically.
Yeah.
Oh, what such a terrible example.
It was a bad example, but
but
maybe the point comes across.
Yeah, maybe.
And I would say that even if you want to then sort of, because for me, I think always we do need some practical experience, experiential feeling before we can really decide if something is good or not. So maybe give it a little go and do the CrossFit worship.
Yeah.
So in what it could mean in sauna context, it would be that, okay, in Finland at least, we have very strong tradition of the löyly creating. And here at our smoke sauna, we have the blessing of guiding everybody into the art of creating the löyly. Not just throwing the water on the rocks or doing something, but really taking a moment of pause. And every pour of the löyly is like a very deep ritual that you do. It's a huge offering that you're pouring on the rocks into that, the crown of life, and you're pouring it there. And that is at least I see it as a very profound and very easy way to really try it. And if you want to do it the Finnish way, then make your first löyly always special. So the very first löyly of your sauna session is of the essence, because that's when you are creating the spirit of your sauna moment. So maybe just a little pause before it, maybe just a small moment of silence, maybe just stop the talk for a little moment and really pour the water on the rocks. Be there,
Yeah.
And who knows, say a prayer, say a rune, say one or two words that comes, or not have to say anything at all, just listen to the sound of the water on the rocks.
Yeah.
And this is a very small thing, but can profoundly change your understanding of what is Kiuas.
Yeah,
and what is the act of pouring the water on the rocks.
Yeah, and even for for somebody who doesn't speak Finnish to learn something, like say terve löyly.
Yeah.
And when you know how to say terve löyly, you say terve löyly, terve lämmin. And now you already have
really profound.
Yes, exactly. You're talking about the health and
and it's like the highest mantra of Finnish tradition.
Yeah, right.
You're
right,
on it.
right.
You're in it.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to be like more than that.
Yeah.
So everybody can start from that.
Yeah.
But of course, the reason why we're doing what we're doing is that we want to offer a chance for anyone who's willing to travel to Finland to actually like learn all of the aspects.
Yeah.
Like that we actually pour everything we know to these courses we have. And especially now that we have the possibility to stay with us for 2 weeks to study the full sort of series of retreats. And we want to, yes, there's always people who would be interested in actually knowing the deep essence. And we do want to offer that possibility to anyone.
Of course. And we do also travel nowadays, it looks
right.
like.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah.
So we have been invited to
right.
quite a few places, and that is also an option if you have your own group at your own place and you guys want to dive deep into it in your own sauna.
Yeah.
It's also an option, and a nice one indeed. But
it's
a passion of ours to share this,
right.
Share the, how would I say, share the respect of the Kiuas. And really the, how would I say, the practical art of healing sauna.
And what is what do you sort of gain while we do this health? That's that one word, even in Finnish or English. Hel is the origin word in English, to be whole. Just it feels good. It feels what a profound sauna ritual does is that it actually makes you feel whole, makes you feel good. And in this way, if, for example, if you would come from a fitness background, that is exactly what you want to do. You want to feel good. You want to feel, optimize yourself. And these ancients knew about this as well. They knew how easy it is to laugh when, you don't feel like your stomach is hurting and so on.
Yeah.
And, a good sauna practice can definitely help with any kind of sort of, well, not maybe any kind of, I would say, help with any kind of health ailments.
Yeah.
So it can help, maybe not solve.
Yeah.
But in the end, when you look at your whole life culture, then, it can solve so many things as well. Yeah. But yeah, dear listener, if you're interested, again, now we just have changed the website. You can still go to saunahealer.com, but now we also have saunotus.com.
Yeah.
And maybe we will do an episode where we talk about this word that Finnish people even don't use that much, don't maybe know about. That's why we're, sort of bringing it together with saunotus.fi and saunotus.com, where we want to actually make everybody... Yes, that's right. Saunotus.fi or .com. Yeah. So we would want this word to be known, that the Finnish culture has called its ritualistic
and healing traditions.
And yes, right. And also healing, sauna healing with this saunotus word.
Yeah. We're just not gonna anymore try English. It's löyly, Kiuas, saunotus.
Yeah, right.
What can be done?
As soon as we can get out of translating everything, the better.
It's
also
easier.
for our mental health,
and then always not having to make so many compromises. We have tried it for years and years. Yeah. How can we translate this saunotus? And then we realized, why would we translate it?
Yeah, right, exactly. Why not just
go with it?
Let's go with it. And again, if you enjoyed this episode, we had it's just a wonderful talk. Again, I'm so happy to have these talks with you. You can always subscribe. You can also send the link to your friend, whether in Spotify or YouTube. Leave a comment. All of those wonderful comments. And now I'm actually sort of in my routines that I will answer your comment for sure. So if you have any question, you can always just ask it in YouTube as well. Or send an email or Instagram message. Oh, and by the way, we are in Instagram, right? So that's where we share these episodes. We never mention it, but Heritage Sauna in Instagram. Yeah. And Perinne Sauna is the Finnish version, but if you want the English content, then Heritage Sauna. But again, thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Otto.